How's everybody doing tonight? Just decided to come on late night PBO special. I see everybody else is on, so probably just gonna be me. But I just really enjoy this topic, right? TikTok FBI director believes it's a national security threat for you to be making super short videos. So we're gonna get into why they think it is. We got some video responses to do. So we're just gonna flow into it. I'm sure people come in and we'll rehash it a couple times, and of course check it out on the replay. But man, I am dragging today. Let's see. Checking out my stream. I'm in excellent condition. My stream is I got it gonna die in 2023, but we're gonna make it work. So once again, shout out to all the homies out there. I saw Tech G doing his thing. I saw Keep It Techie doing his thing. Of course, Antoine Daniel was, he always throwing out content. So once again, we're ready to get into it. If you got any technical questions or cybersecurity questions, throw them in the chat. A lot of people ask me, I got 30 plus years in the tech. So, and I got 15 plus in cyber in different areas. So that's why this is super interesting to me. I said I was going to do a couple big picture things, big society things. And I think TikTok is that. So once again, let's get into it. So I think this kicked it off for me. Was the USA Today article. Let's make that a little bigger for the old people in the back, which is I am the old people in the back, right? So the FBI director says TikTok poses a national security threat. We're gonna play some stuff too from 60 Minutes and a couple other sites, C-SPAN. We're gonna dice it up and check it out. So, why does the FBI director say TikTok poses a national security threat? And he's extremely concerned right now. Not kind of concerned or a little concerned. He's extremely concerned. So once again, let's check out why. The FBI Director Christopher Wray told Congress this week that he's extremely concerned Beijing could weaponize the data connected through TikTok, the popular app owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance. We talked about that, right? We know social media collects a ton of information on people and the United States citizens to send them ads to get them to buy stuff, right? But this is actually a foreign nation that's collecting data on you that's going to try to get you to buy stuff, right? I was going to play the excerpt of that. During the White House Homeland Security Committee hearing on worldwide threats Tuesday, Wray, which is the FBI director, flagged the risk that the Chinese government could harness the video sharing app to influence users or control their devices. Wray said application program interfaces or API that ByteDance embeds in the short form video hosting or a national security concern because Beijing can use those to collect data of millions of users or control the recommendation algorithm, which can be used to influence their operation, right? So, what's up, Wayne Wallace? Salute. Check out my PBO special tonight. So, we chopping it up. TikTok. Why do the FBI director thinks it's a national security threat? So we're gonna delve into it and really figure out some things to make it a national security threat. So China faces hacking. China fast hacking programs is the world's largest. They have stolen more Americans' personal and business data than any other nation combined. That's true. China's stealing businesses, IP, intellectual property. So they're actually doing it once again as a nation state, right? They're not stealing money. I'm sure they get money, but they're trying to steal planes, plans, right? Because people spend billions of dollars building companies up, and China just goes out there a lot of times and just steals it, right? So that's usually the issue, right? According to Wray, the FBI has seen a surge in cybersecurity cases, and the numbers have increased. So too has the complexity of the investigation. Sorry about that. So once again, so too has the investigation. We're investigating over 100 different ransomware variants, each one of those with scores of victims as well as a whole set of other novel threats, both from a cyber criminal and nation state. Let's see where he says the API TikTok could be yoked to control software on millions of devices, meaning the Chinese government could compromise personal devices owned by Americans. Chinese cyber operations threatens the economic and national security of all Americans. Representative John Keto, Democrat, New York, the committee ranking member, told the committee ransomware attacks cost businesses an estimated $1.2 billion a year. So what's up, She? Glad you joined us. Yeah, I see the bots, man. They coming hard, but that's what they do. That's probably Chinese right there. Not just bullshit. They trying to get it. Should I? So you go block them real quick. I think y'all blocking them for me. So that's some of it. So let's listen to. Let's listen to this real quick. So, but that's any. Let me know if y'all can hear that. But that's with any really service, right? Their job is to keep you on their platform, right? So they can sell you stuff, right? But when the Chinese keeping you on the platform from TikTok, right, they're stealing your data, right? And we're going to get into what are some of those data points that they're trying to steal that information from. So once again, he's from the U.S. intelligence, right? And he's saying they're making money and stealing your data, right, or your demographic information, right, which is data. And that's real big. It used to be called a Karetsu, where uh the government helps their industry. They pick which companies are gonna succeed in there, right? Then they push them out around the world to make money for the nation, right? So it's not like you go competing, right? They're saying these are the companies and this is the company, and we as a nation gonna put our resources behind this company to help it build or help it grow, right? So I think that's something that's unique, right? You wouldn't do that in the United States, right? You would call it favoritism or picking winners, right? So yeah, when he puts it like that, right? People don't think of it like you got 100 million users giving you their location, checking in. I always do get out of your feelings where in the tech industry, people put those when they get fired on TikTok, right? So, so you starting to be able to run numbers and once again different data points. And cool thing is, I like this video because he went into the user policy, right? So, what's up, Calvin? Happy Wednesday. Good day to the chat, right? Good night with the PBO. So, no, that really stood out for me. The policies, your cameras, your contacts. I try to limit stuff to what I think it would use, but you got to remember now when you just say yes to that, you done gave that app really total control of your phone. It could be cutting your camera on or listening to you without you knowing it, right? So I thought that was it, but it's called keystrokes. It's you can do the rhythm, the speed of the up and down key. That's actually a fingerprint of how you type, right? So if you give them that fingerprint, when you go on another device, even if you're not logged in, it's gonna know it's you because it's gonna have that pattern. And that's pretty unique, right? Of how you type and when you rest, right? So there's a bandwidth of safety, so they can pretty much predict that that's you typing on a different device, right? So they're actually fingerprinting you with your typing speed pattern, right? So I thought that was super unique. Yeah, that's real big over there. We always joke that because we had a few foreign people. So if they went home with the laptop or iPad, if it was a laptop, we would just really throw it away because when you land in China, they're dropping all kind of malware and we call them rats, remote access trojans on those devices. So we know there's certain countries and continents you go through around the world where as soon as you land or even if you connected to a telephone tower, your device is toast, right? So let's see what Cal. Mm. Yeah, apps are giving too much access. 100%. This is one reason I limit my apps on my mobile device tablets. Yeah, facts. Mm. If I cannot do stuff through a browser, it's a no for me, dog. No, I agree with you. That's actually a thing I think a lot more people should do. But a lot of people love those native apps, man. They just drop them right down there. Yeah, I like that when he said that, just because you're ignorant to the threat. So let's dig a little more. So that gives you, once again, like Calvin said, people getting way too much access to apps, right? I try to pick and choose what I'm gonna let the app do, right? So, um, let's see. So in there, when we read the first article, right, from USA Today, they talked about the Department of Homeland. So this is actually Department of Homeland. They had pretty much did is I think it's a Zoom. It's always on C-SPAN. So a lot of times when I get bored, I go out there and listen to them. So let's listen to what the Congress is concerned about, right? I've always assumed because of it. Yeah, there's a lot of companies they just do Zoom. So when I travel, I hit the prepay. Now, facts. Depending on what countries you are going in. It didn't play from the from that video. It didn't play. You couldn't hear it, Calvin? No audio on that one? Let me see. Let me reshare that. Oh yeah. My bad. I think I have to swipe that up.
Department's been assessing the national security risk of the foreign ownership
Let me
of
bump that
TikTok,
up.
including its CCP ties, or whether the platform enables the Chinese government to access U.S. persons' data. The first question is a yes or no. It's
Can y'all hear that one? It's low. Let's see.
Is a significant national
Okay.
security threat given the
as well. No, how to
accusations
come through one of
that
these
the
inputs is not
specifically
pulled into the
target
stream.
US
Okay.
persons, and given
Okay, you got audio on that one now?
ties to the CCP. And the second part of that
Okay.
question is yes or no. Is the CCP leveraging the application as a tool to collect information about U.S. citizens for purposes?
So the CCP, which is the Chinese government. Yeah, my bad. I got it. I think when I switch between those tabs, I got to reshare it. Did y'all hear the other guy from the 60 Minutes episode? Yeah, I think when I switch tabs, sometimes I got to reshare it.
Anyone on the panel?
Congresswoman, taking the first question, I would say we do have national security concerns, at least from the FBI's end, about TikTok. They include the possibility that the Chinese government could use it to control data collection on millions of users, or control the recommendation algorithm, which could be used for influence operations if they so chose, or to control software on millions of devices.
That's the FBI director. Yep, CCP, Chinese Communist Party. Let's see. Maybe it's heard now, but not before. Okay, I might go back and replay that a little bit. I'll make sure I double check when I switch those screens. So let's check out the FBI director.
Which gives the opportunity to potentially technically compromise personal devices. So there's a number of concerns there. As to what is actually happening and actually being done, that's probably something that would be better addressed in a close classified setting, and I could see what information we might be able to share that way, but there's probably not much more than I could add to that, other than to say it is certainly something that's on our radar, and we share your concerns.
Yes.
So that lets you know the FBI is on it. They like, we don't want to tell you on a national platform what we got on ByteDance and what we think they're checking, right? Because they don't have their experts. They have consultants that they pay. So the FBI once again has their concerns and what they were doing about it. So
thank you for that, and I'd love to have that closed briefing. Has ByteDance responded to allegations that their internal auditing system specifically targeted any members of the U.S. government, activists, public figures, or journalists? Yes or no?
I'll have to see if we can get back to you on that. I'm not sure that I can give the answer right here at this moment.
Okay. Are you informing the Treasury's view through the CFIUS process of the national security threat it poses?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I repeat the question. I just couldn't hear you very well.
Are you informing Treasury's view through the CFIUS process of the national security threat it poses to the United States?
Yes, the FBI's Foreign Investment Unit, working through the Department of Justice, is part of the CFIUS process and would be relevant. Our input would be taken into account in any agreements that might be made to address the issue.
So when you start talking about money and how it moves, even from a cybersecurity threat, they think we're funding the Chinese government with the money they're making from TikTok, right? So I think that's That's the problem. And of course, Calvin's 100% right. We're cool with us doing that, Calvin. We're not cool with the foreign governments doing that. One problem with the focus on China and TikTok is that American companies are doing the same thing. Two is, yeah, and I'm gonna do a video of that. Actually, Facebook 10 years ago was running psychological experiments on their user base. And Sheryl Sandberg admitted it. I actually brought it up on another video. Somebody didn't believe me, so that actually showed what she admitted. But so now that's where you come out with the misinformation and the disinformation, and how can the Chinese government use that to get you to vote for stuff, or back their companies, or not back certain companies they don't want, right? Because they're controlling you with TikTok. And I'm jumping ahead, but Gen Z gets 25% of their news from TikTok, which blows my mind, because when I think about getting tech news or just news in general, TikTok's not in my first 50 things I would listen there to get news from. So TikTok is more than willing to share the details of what they're doing compared with the bomb. Yeah, they're sharing it with the government of China. So now you're right. So, but the United States feel, of course, they can't control the government. They feel like they can regulate if they need to United States companies, right? So that's one of the debates too. So
Okay, last part of that question is, what is currently being done to investigate the CCP's involvement in TikTok ownership, direction, and or access? And the reason I asked that is there was a current 60-minute segment highlighting the stark differences between the Chinese-owned TikTok company that allows kids in China to view a totally different app, a clean app, and what is shown in the U.S., they call it an opium version, that is designed to hook American children on an unsafe version of the video-based platform, and offering a healthier version and a limited viewing of 40 minutes for those children in China, which is unacceptable, and parents need to know this. But what's currently being done to investigate the CCP's involvement in TikTok?
yeah, I was looking for that. I might try to look it up real quick. Was their version of TikTok in China has not even close to the version they do in the US. Like she said, they call it an open version where they want to get you. There, they only let their kids look at it for 40 minutes, and what they can view and see a lot of times is more educational, where our stuff is just off the chain, right? So a lot of people were kind of like, well, or why would they give us a different version, right? Because they know what social media do to you as a person, and that, especially as a kid, right? China and Russia are heavily invested in facts, and different people are willing to believe lies before the truth. They will question the truth and not bat an eye on the lie. Now that's true, and that's one reason too why. And we're going to get in that article when Gen Z is getting 25% of their news from TikTok, right? That's a little astounding because of that statement right there. So.
Well, as to any specific investigative work, I could see whether some of that could be incorporated into the classified briefing I referred to. There's obviously limits on what I can share in terms of discussing a specific ongoing investigation. But what I would say is that you've highlighted two very, very important threats. One, of course, something we're all concerned about, which is the threat to our youth online. But the second is the threat specifically from the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party, and the ways in which their laws are used as an aggressive weapon against companies, both U.S. companies and Chinese companies. Under Chinese law, Chinese companies are required to essentially, and I'm going to shorthand here, basically do whatever the Chinese government wants them to in terms of sharing information or serving as a tool of the Chinese government. And so that's plenty of reason by itself to be extremely concerned.
Absolutely.
Yes, once again, is the Chinese companies really is an institution for the Chinese government and the Chinese people. Once again, they pick winners and losers for those companies, and when they do that, right, they expect you, of course, to work for the Chinese government. Shout out to CL, boo the Chinese government. They out there putting in work.
Well, I look forward to the classified briefing, and I appreciate your time. And with that, Chairman, I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. And to the witnesses and the people in law enforcement that you represent, you are owed our thanks for your service to our country. You're not owed the bitter, divisive, cruel, violent rhetoric we heard from our colleague from Louisiana. And that's a rhetoric that the voters rejected, an extreme rhetoric that voters rejected last Tuesday. And our chairman of the committee, Mr. Thompson, was also not owed that display. Director Wray, anti-Semitism is...
So let's look and see what Gen Z is doing with the TikTok. As far, once again, is, and I'm highlighting it, is I was surprised that they were getting 25% of their news from TikTok. Thank you so much for touching on this. Start to follow you after the interview with Tamika. Will, I always inform. I appreciate it. Shout out to Will. I always enjoy hanging out with Tamika and D. Shout out to them. So another problem is the American politicians are to fight each other. It's one step further, Calvin, is and they did. Big tech really start doing this, and I think Elon's gonna take it to another step. Is they got big time lobbyists now, right? So, like you said, it's the American politician now. They're funding them so that they can tell them what to do, right? They have big PACs and big lobbyists, right? Long story short, Azure / Microsoft PAC lobbyists came in that they wasn't liking PBO. I said something bad about Azure. So their lobbyists, true story, actually came to our president and said something bad about PBO. He said, I didn't know what I was talking about in Azure and FedRAMP. So I had to get an apology. So we were doing a review, but seriously, their lobbyists came in and said something about me and a colleague of mine that we didn't really understand FedRAMP. So we had to break it down. So now they're funding with their lobbyists and they're controlling stuff. So it's even worse than that, because when you got your lobbyists, right, that's what funds them. Most laws and statutes now are written by lobbyists. I've seen us military people. So that's the bad part. The U.S. government is up to China's going to do a better job in government overreach than they have. U.S. government picks winners. No, that's true too, Caleb. You were 100% right. Let's see. Now, U.S. government, which would never be outdone. Who we picking? We picking the Chinese or the U.S., right? I think they're both overreaching. They just do it differently, right? So I think, like you said, the U.S. is overreaching. They just do it a little differently on how they move. So let's see what Gen Z is doing over here. Gen Z and millennials get their news from newspaper and next door. Some may discredit Gen Z and millennials for being oblivious to current events when the reality is 79% consume news daily. A third pay out of pocket for news subscriptions. A survey looked at the media consumptions of habits from 16 to 40-year-olds and found that young people are not only tapped into the news, but they're also exhausted from the constant fire hose of misinformation to the barrage of tragedy news bits. Hear what they learn. So it's the opposite. They're so connected that they get bombarded with news, and some of that news is misinformation or disinformation. Right? Somebody actually asked me that the other day, is how do you handle the overstimulation of information? I was like, I just cut my phone off. just go for a walk, right? Just cut my phone off and relax, right? News consumption is high, while younger people have adopted new habits of sources of news. They haven't abandoned traditional. 74% still tap in traditional outlets weekly. 45% do it daily. More than half find local TV station, newspaper, or other websites completely or verifiable sources of hard news. Mistrust and misinformation. 7 in 10 young people reportedly feel personally victimized by misinformation. 9 out of 10 feel misinformation is the problem, but unsure or where to direct the plane. Nearly half respondents believe the media of immigrants, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans is slightly or totally inaccurate. This is the one that kind of threw me out. Social media sources. And overwhelmingly, 91% say they get their weekly news from social media, which I can see that. Young people primarily get their news from YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, while a quarter of them get their news from TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitter. A considerable number of young people also looking into Reddit, LinkedIn, Twitch, and even Nextdoor for news. So I thought that was a little different when I for Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram for news. This is where I try to be careful. Digital fatigue and self-monitoring. 7 years ago, 53% of young people said they enjoy getting their news and found it entertainment. Today, it has dropped to 32%. And now almost a third are trying to manage their constant bombardment of information by setting limits spent on apps or online, right? Because there's just so much information out there. Who do you trust? Who do you recommend? And who do you follow, right? The two is I try to make sure I follow different people. I don't want to be in an echo chamber. So shout out to Will. Me and Tim agree on a lot of things, but there's some things we don't agree in. I love Before the Billions. He's so young. So I'll be 55. I think he's 26, going on 27. So our views aren't going to align, and they shouldn't align. Shout out to Keep It Techie. I think he just got to 15K. So everybody's in the space. My thing is, I just try to respect everybody. So everybody has if you have a coherent thing, we don't have to agree on it, right? You have your view, I have mine. For me, long as you can intellectually and coherently explain yourself and make it make sense, right? We don't have to agree on everything, and we're not. I don't want to think everybody's supposed to be a monolith. That's one thing I hate. I like to see different views. One major difference is that Chinese citizens are subjugated to outfacts indoctrination. The default approach is to trust the government, whereas Americans are empowered to rebel against the best interests. Oh, that's true. That's true. And that's how our branches are created, President, Senate, right? So that's supposed to be like a sausage. So it forces you to come to the middle and kind of forces you to agree to get something passed. So that's a good point. That's a good point. Traditional news source has been misinformation hubs. They publish misinformation that can be blamed on the source and freedom of the press, and they can legally lie. I agree with that too. And with the rush to try to beat news, I don't think people vet news as like they used to, right? If you the source, you can always do a retraction. Most people don't read the retraction, right? But so now I think with the Russian news too but let's see. I think Calvin brought someone. We were having, I wouldn't say a debate. So, like he said, the Chinese are subjected to indoctrination. I think the United States get a little indoctrination in there, but you're right. We have a lot more freedom of choice. But I always tell people a lot of times is Chinese, when they pick something, they say, we're going to do artificial and machine learning. We're going to do it as a country and we're going to go, right? That helps your economy and your nation grow. In the United States, we got to argue about it, fight about it, right? So sometime, right, I tell people, when you get everybody moving in the direction, and like you said, you have to move in that direction, right? So I think a lot of times that works in their favor, right, for communists and dictatorships. So if you're smart enough to say from an industry, this is what we're going to back and this is how we're going to do it. United States does it, but then they try to lure you there with tax credits and grants and give colleges. So they don't force you to go. They try to herd everybody in that direction. Right? So people love to get their news and headlines. Nah, facts. We bad about that. Facts. Traditional news story have been misinformation hub. I think I got that. Let's see. Salute, Chili in the house. So let's see. The problem with traditional news is they rush to publish, they rush causing inaccuracies to occur, which can be deemed misinformation, slippery slope. Yep. I definitely agree with that. So Let's see. Let's look. What did I have on this last article? Once again, super short. Like we talked about, TikTok search engines repeatedly delivers misinformation to its majority young user base. Right, TikTok's probably got the youngest average, I would think, of all the social media companies. Right, so let's look at the misinformation a little bit. TikTok, when TikTok users searches social media apps on top news stories ranging from C19 schools deletions, nearly 20% of videos presented a result that contains misinformation, according to research published. Researchers at NewsGuard, a journalism and technology tools that track online search TikTok and Google this month for information of major news sources for the campaign, the Russia-Ukraine war, deletions compared to misinformation delivered in search engines. TikTok users, predominantly teenagers and young adults, repeatedly deliver videos containing false claims in the first 20 results. Often within the first 5, report says Google, by comparison, provide a higher quality and less polarization results with far less information, right? So, let's see. Once again, that's what we're talking about. TikTok ties to China under scrutiny. TikTok removed more than 102 million videos in 2022 for violating its guidance, but less than 1% of those videos were removed from violating the company's integrity and authenticity guidelines, which includes misinformation, right? So, once again, we knew that was here, right? So let's see. Yep, they put a retraction, but they ain't going to promote the retraction like they promoted the lie. The lie is the headline news. The retraction is loosely mentioned. Now that's 100%. That's 100. So let's look. I brought up a couple, and I just kind of did that on the fly. Then we'll go back and listen to that 60 minutes. So just a few things you can track on a video, right? And I just did this just willy-nilly. You know, when your IP address, especially in the United States, you can really tell where somebody's actually coming from, right? Now you can go through a VPN, you can spoof IP addresses, right? The average person's not going to do that, right? They just go whatever DHCP pulls down an IP address, your phone, tablet, at work, right? Boom, right? So now you can start tracking them, man. Then Calvin brought up what y'all have on the screen, but the real question is: it the lie? Is it a lie if it was unintentional? No, that's a good point. And the good part too is and I think Calvin really hit on this, was you give those apps access to your phone, mic, camera, video, geolocation. You get all that. You can let it push other apps to your phone, right? So what actually is getting pushed down to your phone from a security perspective? When you take a picture, and even movies, a lot of times, if you got on certain settings, it puts the longitude, latitude, and altitude, my fault on the misspelling, of your phone. So it can tell you what floor you on, where you at, and it could get down super close to like 10 meters of where you actually were at. I worked at a big state client, and Google would send me messages. Now I was on the third floor and knew exactly what agency I was in, and it would try to send me questions to ask for that particular agency, right? Which I was like, wow, that's on a different level, right? Now you doing the altitude, you can tell me what floor I'm on, and you can pretty much say what agency I work for, right? Two, you get better ads from Google with that, right? Then two is I did a video, shout out to her. She was working for Apple, and she was taking pictures at lunch and doing stuff. And people were like, oh, that's not a big deal. That's a huge deal, because in Google, you got certain monuments and certain markers. Google can tell you where you at, right? Even though she pretty much said where she was at, right? But now you putting a trail of where you go every day, what coffee you get, what coffee shop, right? You get. And two is she was videotaping at her desk while people were walking past her. She didn't get permission. It could have been a VIP. Elon Musk could have been trying to buy Apple, and you see him walking the video, right? So those are stuff that TikTok now is you're taping all that stuff. So they have all those videos, and they could easily do facial recognition, right, to start picking those out. So those are some of the issues with, and we brought that up. Psychological attacks against you. If I start feeding you negative videos, could I make you not vote? Could I make you change your votes? Could I make you, do something you don't want to do if I keep sending you a ton of negative videos? Like, would that change your mindset for a certain law, certain statute, or just how you move on a daily basis? All right, and we just talked about that, how people control stuff, business and government in TikTok, because it's Chinese, right? They work together as a karetsu or as an organization to go against certain industries. Like Boeing had $100 million jet. They went to the airplane show. They saw China with their $100 million jet because they stole their planes, right? So those are things that they do as a country and how they move. One thing about why Google know where you are, because enough people feed data into their network, everything. Oh yeah, wireless signal, Bluetooth, right? And the thing they do, in Facebook does that too, is they buy your location data from the phone company, right? So they take that IP with the phone company's IP. So even if you got your location out, then two, when you triangulate on a telecom system, they getting within 3 or 4 meters of where you actually are at. So you're checking in and you get that data, right? So now they're getting data on top of that. Then you got third-party brokers that are selling your information, right? They're stealing it and selling it to those people because they use it. And two, a shout out to them. They be giving you ads on time. Sometimes you're like, well, did I say that? And they came up on my phone, right? Is the phone listening? Right? That's that ad engine. And it's super duper. That's why they're $1 billion company. You never pay Google, you never pay Twitter, even though Twitter trying to get some more money. You never pay Facebook. I've never bought anything off of Facebook, but they making billions of dollars. I think somebody said, I think it was 28 billion profit. So let's go back and look at this one from the Heritage again and respond over top of that. I'm unshare it, then reshare it. Make sure I get that on there.
But like Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook,
Let me know if y'all can hear that.
real business is keeping you engaged as long as possible in order to collect your data.
They're not providing a platform for music videos out of the goodness of their heart, right? They're making money by providing really deep insights into their use.
We talked about that. So is that a national security threat because we're funding the Chinese government because they're making a ton of money with TikTok? So I guess that would be the question: is us funding that one? All right. So obviously that I would say that's a security hole, right? Because now you're funding them to you're funding them to really, I don't want to say fight, but target United States company. You're funding their army. You're funding their actual hacker army, right? They do a lot of hacking against others. So you're funding all that. Cool. Thanks, Cal. So that's definitely a security. I would say a security
Kitchen
threat.
spent 15 years working for the U.S. intelligence community, including the CIA, and now is Director of Technology Policy at the Conservative Heritage Foundation.
What makes TikTok particularly concerning is its relationship with the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing, the government of China. The Chinese have fused their government and their industry together so that they cooperate to achieve the ends of the state.
And I think we should do that more. I ain't gonna say it like that, but we should help industries grow, right, to do certain things against other countries because they're helping their industries, right? So, because in Chinese, they're leading actually, I think, artificial intelligence and machine learning now because the country is backing certain companies to push them along in those highly sought after industries, right? Machine learning, artificial intelligence, blockchain, right? All of those are sought after industries.
TikTok is a factor in that.
Yeah, so
But when you look at it, it just seems
dance videos.
fun and innocuous.
Imagine you woke up tomorrow morning and you saw a news report that China had distributed 100 million sensors around the United States, and that any time an American walked past one of these sensors, this sensor automatically collected off of your phone your name, your home address, your personal network, who you're friends with, your online viewing habits, and a whole host of other pieces of information. Well, that's precisely what TikTok is. It has 100 million US users. It collects all of that information.
And more.
Yeah, that's deep. That's 100% true. China and Russia are fighting 21st century battles, and the U.S. still is on the defensive. Politicians are too delusional to protect with legislation. Yeah, and it's weird because when you do, I think it's more Japan, but when you do business in Japan to get that big market, you got to give over your IP, right? To the so they can share with the companies, right? So when you give over your IP, you're helping those companies catch up with you ASAP. Right now they're starting to pass us, but when we were way ahead, they forced us to give us IP to get in those big markets. And a company, I could easily say avoid 1 billion people, right? Those are sales, but once again, they gave over their IP to get it. So, which is intellectual property.
Like many U.S. social media companies, TikTok asks users for access to their cameras, microphones, photos, videos, and contacts. More obscure data, like keystroke patterns, are collected from everyone using the app. Former CIA...
Yeah, that one, once again, I thought that was unique because when you type, that's almost like a fingerprint. So even if you switch devices and you logged in and gave them another email, they could pretty much tell if that's you or not. Number one, they got your IP, so they seeing how you move. Two, they got your typing pattern, right? Three, they're probably buying your location data from the telecom services, right? So in China, they focus on learning education. In America, they focus on entertainment and influence. Yeah, that's a huge disparity. It's a guy was cool in college. I never forget this is. I'm studying calculus and I'm struggling a little bit. So he's helping me. Then he said, well, he goes, yeah, man, I've been doing calculus since the 10th grade in China because they're so big on education. And each level, you got to pass these tests. If you don't pass these tests, you don't go to college, you got to get a regular job, right? So they be taking studying to a whole new level. So I always just remember, yeah, I've been telling you, he was saying it since his sophomore year. Right. And we talking when I was in college, that's the 80s, right? Now kids do a lot more advanced stuff, but I'm talking about in the 80s. All right. So
Officer Klon Kitchen says in China, no big technology company is independent of the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP.
The national security and cybersecurity laws of China require them to operate and build their networks in such a fashion as to where the government has unfettered access to their data. And so, no, the CCP doesn't ask them for information. They don't need to. They have access to the information.
It seems big.
Yeah, that's real big over there. And I think the United States, which I push back, United States government's trying to make sure you have a backdoor key and with encryption, right? So everybody's encrypted data. So a lot of times it's called going dark. A lot of times it's hard to read companies' data because everybody's encrypting everything, but the U.S. government's talking about making you make a back door in there, so if they need to get through there with a search warrant, they can get to that data. Apple's saying we can't give you the data because we don't have the keys. The keys on the phone. We don't have the keys. The United States is like, you need to get us the keys. That's BS, right? So they're trying to figure out the best way in the United States to do that. Like he said, in China's like, yeah, they're gonna give them a back door. They're gonna give them the keys, which the encryption keys, right? They don't want us to read it, but they want to be able to read it, right? Now, true. So let's.
A great disconnect. I mean, the American people, at least the kids who are on TikTok, have no concern about what we're talking about here.
That's right.
They just think it's fun.
And for them, it is. They want to make a dance video with their friend. I don't begrudge them that. But
That's the smooth part too. If you think of a Trojan horse or how you move, what's a better Trojan horse than TikTok? It's fun. The kids are dancing. Old people don't want to do it, so they're not really looking at TikTok. And like you said, you got 100 million sensors walking around your biggest foreign competitor, all right? And people are putting everything on TikTok. They're confessing, they putting stuff on there they shouldn't put on there. Like my man said, Calvin, they're giving you too much access, so you can start cutting on mics, taking pictures, right? Looking at people's picture rolls on their phone that they're probably not aware of, right? So, like I said, it's 100 million sensors.
you know, their ignorance of the threat does nothing to diminish it.
I dropped the link if anybody want to come up. Kevin Henderson has already asked the question. Facts. TikTok wins because of low educated. Yeah, no, that's facts. Don't be raining on a parade, Calvin, man. Everybody wants to have a little fun, but no, like you said, I think they're moving. Like you said, they're playing three-dimensional chess, and we're playing jacks. We ain't even got to checkers yet, right? You gonna have a few outlets that's killing it, but the majority of the United States citizens, they in bad shape, man. Especially time stops for no one. Really, technology stops for no one, right? So we're speeding it up. Tech's better. So much tech, right? So the weird thing is, a lot of that stuff I would have never think would be $1 billion company. Snapchat started with them cat ears, man. I hated that with the cat tongue. Now it's $1 billion organization, right? So what you can turn in and what you could get people to actually like doing, I guess for me is I'm an old curmudgeon. I'm like, yeah, that don't look fun, but it picks up and they get $1 billion valuations, right? For really stuff been out there for years. They just came up with a novel way to use it. Right. So I believe TikTok is a national security problem or threat. I know a lot of my bigger clients, if they're actually blocking it, even on their wireless right now, you could go from your phone, but you can't get on a company wireless and try to do TikTok. You definitely can't get on your corporate laptop or even your corporate device, right? They're actually gonna block TikTok from that. What is up, man?
Hello.
I can hear you. You doing all right tonight?
I got the real headset on today.
Yeah, you super crystal clear now. You crystal clear, man. Glad you could join me.
Yes. So how's it going?
It's going all right. What's your thoughts on it? You think TikTok good, bad? It's gonna overtake us. What's your thoughts on it?
Honestly, TikTok is not going to do anything different than any other app. It's like you said, it's the perfect Trojan horse. It allows people to do things for pleasure and enjoyment, but we have, as a society, breeded an environment where people don't care about privacy.
But no.
People don't have any care at all about information, whether it's valuable or not. People believe in lies. It's my truth, as people like to say. So they are willing participants in a system that's going to literally be their downfall, and they're championing and running towards it.
No, like I said, I agree with that. Yeah, and I always joke with the kids when I used to teach. I'm like, dude, y'all put everything online. Y'all just giving privacy. If you're under 30, you just putting. I mean, I'm sure I see people argue with their family on Facebook. I'm like, why would you put your family business out there? But it's just something they're doing. And one thing I hate, and I see people doing it more and more. When I die, don't take a picture of me in a casket and put it on Facebook. If you see that, I need y'all to flag them. But that's what people do. I think they think they're sharing it. We the home going. That's what we call it, the home going.
Mhm.
I don't like it, but young people do it. Two. I tell people, I'm getting out of the way. Just don't do me. So
Yeah.
I'll let you chime in on that, man.
Yep. People are big believers in sharing too much information, and they think that everything is private because it's on, it's my page. None of this is your page. You don't own anything that you have on there. It's
Right.
someone else's page that they're allowing you to basically put whatever you want on there until they decide you don't need to put it on there, then they're going to kick you off.
Yeah, that's why I always tell people when they talk about I love YouTube. I make a little lunch money, but I tell them you don't control YouTube. It's not your business. They can demonetize you with a click of a hat and you be gone
Yep.
tomorrow. And
Well, one of the sad parts about YouTube is how much money they take of the cut. I get it. It costs to run the show. I'm completely
Mhm.
understanding of that, but I'm like, geez, someone gives you $5, you get two. I'm
No,
like,
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm kind of cool, even though the ad cut is I think 45, 55. Then super chats they get 30%, but they give you the whole infrastructure, right? So I'm kind of cool with it, but it is a deep cut. But you got to think, man. All you need is a headset and a mic, and you rolling, man. You out there, man. You can be PBO and make $2 a day, or you can be Kevin Samuels and make $5,000 a day, right? It's whatever you can make out of it, man. So
yeah, I lit up a couple of live streams with people talking about photography stuff a while ago, and I play it every now and then just to look back and like, man, this was fun. I had a good time doing that, but it's hard to talk for an hour.
it is, it is. I taught for 10 years, so I can chop it up about anything. So that's one of
Yeah,
my gift of gab. So
yeah. When you got a good chat to be able to talk to, it makes it easier to talk for an hour. But when everybody's literally just staring at you, it's like talk. It's like, okay, I talked about this
yeah,
subject. What else you want to talk about? And they just quiet. It's like, okay, I can't
nah.
talk for a whole hour when there's nothing to talk about.
Nah, like you said, yeah, you gotta at least, man. If you're out of app, or if the subject you pick. The weird thing is, I follow Roberto Blake. He teaches you how to grow a YouTube channel, and he
Hmm.
uh he's a big camera guy, so he gets because now I think he's got 500,000 subscribers. He gets 30% of Canon sales for referrals, so he made like 40 grand recommending photography gear.
Hmm. Yeah, did
So
you
I
check
was
out
like,
his why you should start a podcast video that
I
he did?
did, I did. Yeah, I probably do that next. I'm so far. Yeah, I just try to do stuff in baby steps, man. There's so
Hey,
much
that's all
There's
you.
so many podcasts out there. It's like you said, it's hard to really catch on now. It's just so many people out there.
Yeah. The crazy part about it is that when you think about it, YouTube itself, last time I believe it was 72 hours worth of videos uploaded every minute.
Yeah, it's something crazy. Like, yeah, it is. It is.
So
And
it's
it's
like,
so.
how can you ever consume it?
Oh yeah, yeah. But like you said, it's some out. Like you said, some out there for everybody. But the weird part about it, I think only 2% are monetized because to trying to hit them numbers is hard, man.
Hmm.
I finally kind
Yep.
of did it, but it was hard.
Yeah. The hard part is because going back to what Caleb was talking about in the chat about it's he off talked about it, but um when we was talking about the algorithm. Everybody else talk about the algorithm that YouTube wants you to say. Why don't you comment? Why don't you subscribe? Why don't you like and all this other stuff? Well, why do I have to say that and be like everybody else? because every video on YouTube all says the exact same thing, whether it's in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, the middle, or the end. Everybody says
Mm-hmm.
it's like at some point in time, me as a viewer, if I've never watched YouTube before, okay, great, that's helpful. But if you're my 15,000 video I didn't watch, it's a little bit overkill at that point in time. But
No, it is.
if you don't say it, the algorithms are like, oh, we don't detect that in the video. Let's shove them on down. And then,
Oh,
we also
that's.
talk about us as black folks. How hard is it
Mm-hmm.
for us
Yeah.
to get onto the front page of YouTube? It's
Oh
like
yeah.
it's all
You
these
know
things that are
this.
stacked against us that makes it hard for us to be a part of the algorithm.
Because they shadow banning people too, depending on what you talk about. You like you said, push. You would never get pushed. You would never get
Mhm.
recommended, and so.
Well, the one of the things, so I listen to Roland Martin talk from time to time, and
Mm-hmm.
he was ranting on about how my fans don't get notified when I go live. And I'm like, I don't want a notification. I go to my subscribers tab, and that's how I watch my YouTube videos. I don't go to the home page. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
notifications. If I'm following 100 channels, why do I want to get 100 notifications, per hour or per day? That's a lot of notifications. I don't want everybody to get notifications, especially if you got 1 million subscribers or you got 500,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Those they
But
people should be trained to go look at that dang subscriber tab and look at the videos that people are posting and not wait for a notification.
no, that's true. But two is Roberto Black actually explained that what YouTube does. He said they look at your top 15% of your viewers. That has the notification click. YouTube pushes out to them. If 40% or less doesn't watch your video and they're supposed to be your people, they're not gonna push it to the rest of them because those are your high profile people, right? Because they were pushing people, like you said, they were pushing to 1 million, and those people were like, so if these people follow you, if they push them out to those people, if they don't click on it, they're gonna say that's not a hot video, and we're not pushing it because your people don't even like your videos, right? So Roberto Blake said they changed that algorithm recently for that. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah, but even that is, I'm a different type of tech nerd. I think it's stupid to send out notifications to people about a video is posted or someone is going
mhm.
live. If you're going to go live every day at 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. or 1 p.m. or whatever, then you go live at that point in time and people should tune in. Sending
I
notifications, even if you send it to all million and all million people show up, that's a million notifications that just went out. What type of infrastructure do you need to have in place to push out 1 million notifications?
YouTube, like I say, you gotta be big. That's a lot of notifications. That's yeah, but two is like you said, you at the top of the pyramid, man. I think you got some people they like the notifications. That's their thing. So I'm kind of
Yeah,
with you on
th-
that. If it's certain people I follow you, I'm looking for you at that time. If you're not there, I'm going to your page. Where's this? Where's this video? Because I expect there's like 3 or 4 people where I go out. And two is like you said, I go to their page and be like, okay, did they put their video out yet? Because some people put some out every couple of days. Like I said, I go to their page and I look for them, right?
mhm. Talking about
But like you
video,
said, I
did you
think
check out the Keep It Techie video?
which one?
He posted that video today about the taxes that we was talking about the other day.
Yeah, not yet, because I want to look at his Anton Daniels. I heard they were getting spicy on there, so I was gonna listen to his Anton Daniels, and I was gonna listen to that because actually I called him. I got his number, so we talked about it. So I kind of figured out what he was talking about. I'm like, you doing what? Okay, that makes sense. Most people
Yeah.
don't move around like that. They usually in one spot. That guy was traveling, so the government wants you to have a business in your location sometimes. So.
Yeah, once because he posted the link to it. Once I read it, it's like, okay, I understand why. It was kind of convoluted in how he described it, and then the headline of it was convoluted. But once you read the details, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Now I understand
Yeah.
why.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay. I was like, yeah. So I need to watch it so I can make comment because I wrote him on Twitter because you had got off the chat by that point in time. So I was like, well, he's probably gone from the chat, so I'm not going to respond there. I wrote him on Twitter. It's like, hey, I checked out the video, the link that you sent. I'm waiting for the video, and then we'll talk about it on there. And then he finally posted the video, and it's like, okay, I need to watch the video, but I've been running all day long, so I didn't get a chance to jump on the video and then make my comments to him and talk. Because I'm
No,
not
that's
fancy like you. I can't call him and have a conversation.
well, no, there's like 4 or 5 people I run tight with. And he really was the first guy that he the one really got me started. He interviewed me first, and he had a big following. I mean, like, shout out to him. He got 15K. He just put out a I don't know if it was on his community tab, but I gave him a shout out for the 15K. No, Solo Dodo. We know that notifications are for live interactions, but like I said, if it's people I follow and I need to get a regular time, I'd be at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I got Sunday at 3 is the only thing I do consistently. That's my AWS, what I'm going to talk about. But usually it's like, catch me on a replay.
Yep.
So now, Solo
No,
Dolo, you're right.
one good thing that you do is that you post up the your stream is going to be at this time. So that
Yeah.
way you can kind of get people checking around like, okay, he's going to be up later on. Let me go ahead and check it out. That's
Yeah.
a good thing. I like that because it helps me say, okay, like I was scrolling through today because I always check on my feed and I get my little news clips that I want to watch and I put them into a little playlist and I watch them later on. And I seen your videos like, up, let me go check on. I was like, he's on. Let me go talk to him, see how he's doing, and do that support.
I appreciate that, man. Like you said, you one of my day ones. You always supporting. We always commenting. We going back and forth. You be helping me out. Yeah, I got a little lazy on that one video. I don't know why I was glitching. I'm like, I forgot I had like 3 big programs in the back. No, shout out to you. I was like, yeah, I should have redid it, but I was tired. Shout out to her. She got laid off anyway. So
I was
I
cracking
was,
up and laughing because I was like, I think the audio should be playing, but it's not playing because he's coming. I was like,
uh,
oh, well, I was like, he probably got too much resources going on.
I did. I
It
looked up. I
happens.
had 2 big Adobe programs running in the background. I didn't even notice till I looked because it's weird. I usually listen to like the first 10 seconds and it sounded good, but then I looked the rest of them and I noticed what y'all like, oh my God, it's skipping or whatever it's doing. Like I said, my resources was hogging it up.
Yeah. And I learned from spent too much time. I started out doing photography back in the 90s, and I did that for about 20 years. And then I got into streaming and figuring out all that stuff. And it's like, okay, this is possible. This is not that difficult. I can put my technical skills to work and make this work. And it's not difficult, but you got to be consistent, and you have to build a following based off of consistency, no matter what it is that you're being consistency about. And one thing I was curious about is running 2 computers to record video. So you can kind of get those little cheap capture cards and you plug it into your second computer that you do all the recording on, and you just tell that second computer to be your output monitor. And now you can do everything on the one computer and make it work hard. And then the other computer, all it's doing is just recording. So it's never going to have any issues with picking up all the frames and everything. I was like, this is what more people should be doing.
No, I actually seen a couple other people do that. A lot of times they get the better cameras, right, and the capture cards right with the camera. So
hmm
I seen
It
that.
gets
So I'm
expensive.
probably gonna, yeah, I'm a upgrade. I'm just still using my little camera on my little laptop. So I think I'm gonna get like a GoPro or some little better quality with the 4K and get me a circle light and a few other small things. Solo though, I'm
Hey,
thinking about that. The Russian app with the CDC and the Army. I might do a video on that.
don't be afraid to use your cell phone as your video camera too.
My cell
Too
phone
often,
crappy. I need to upgrade that. That's what I started with. Was my cell phone. I had a Samsung. So now you're right. I started with my cell phone. And now with the tripods, a lot of people do. I mean, they doing movies on with the iPhone with the 4K. So like you said, phones are they crisp now.
yep. Too often we like, oh man, it's like, man, this thing's $1,000. This thing $800. It better do good.
No, that's true. That's true. That's definitely true. So, but yeah,
So,
that's
so
what we were rapping about. TikTok, it is a national security threat, like my man was talking about. Y'all giving the app too much power on your phone. Y'all need to, while you got it reading your contact, your mic, and your video. I don't think TikTok needs all of that. It probably needs your video, but so just
you
be
don't even
careful
need
what
you
you're
don't even
doing.
need your video.
And two, what I do is I give it nothing until I need it. if it needs a video, when I need it to do a TikTok, I'll use it. If I'm not using it, I'll cut that particular part of the app off, right? You can control it. It's your phone. You can control access to it. So, like I said, and like you brought up, is America social media. They have the same, they got this same location. They pulling all the same data. They're buying your other information from brokers and marry them together. So we need to talk about, as a nation, is social media have too much power. Now, all of the big tech companies, they're buying lobbyists and voting on different things from the United States. So is that too much power? Because obviously your data's worth money, even though you don't pay. They're patching it together and making billions of dollars with your data, right? So should you get paid for it? Should you own it? Should the government tax it and give you a little money back? So that's some things we need to talk about in the future. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Well, if you do that, that becomes potentially government overreach.
You do. No, you're right. No, I mean, we trying to find a balance, but I'm trying to get a little money back. But no, that's true. That's true.
But the hard part is trying to figure out what is the proper value for the monetization. Because we've never established a value on what our information is worth. We've all speculated, but this company is now, rated at $800 billion Google, and it's all based off of your information. So what is your information valued at? And we've
No,
never
facts.
figured that out.
No, shout out to Engineering Cannabis, AI, and ME. He actually brought that up as a data scientist. We were on a panel. We was talking about what is the cost of it. What is your data worth? Obviously worth something. Like you said, $8 billion companies. Apple almost at $1 trillion, right? So
Apple's over $1 trillion. I think Apple's at 1.5 trillion.
Okay, I know it was up, then it fell down, then I think it was going back over. Obviously, I haven't even looked. Shout out to Citizen Lou, because he put up Apple and I think Google. They put like 3 or 4 companies that wasn't much as Apple.
Yep. Dang, spammers got up into the chat.
Yeah, they getting a little bit of everybody in there. I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna let you get one of the last words. What you want to close it off with?
The Raiders are officially going for the #1 overall pick.
What you think of Carr as a quarterback?
You like Carr as a quarterback? The Colts? The problem with Carr is that Carr is hyper efficient, but Carr will not get you yards. He'll get you those 2 or 3 yard passes, maybe 3, maybe 5, but he's not going to consistently get a 300-yard game. And that hinders your offense on what their capabilities is. He's good for 70%, 65% completions, but he has too many games. He don't get 200 yards. And I'm talking about 20, 30 completions, 20, 25 completions, and you don't even get the 200 yards. So Carr, he needs to go to a team that has offensive weapons that can move the ball down the field after he gets that 2 or 3 yards. The Raiders have just for the last 20 plus years not been built to do anything right consistently. And it started with Mark Davis, and it just perpetually goes on downhill from there.
No, I'm with you. So we right there. Hopefully we'll get a quarterback finally. I think we got a lot of pieces. We just need a decent quarterback.
I don't know, man. Matt Ryan showed out.
That was once, but he had one good game, man. So we'll see. We were playing
it was against the Raiders. I don't want to chalk it up to much of anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think we're gonna need to go find one. So but no.
But that was it, man. Appreciate the time.
No, I appreciate it. I always come up, man. I always enjoy the extra info. Like you said, it helps the live stream when you have somebody help you out too. I always appreciate it. Once again, like you said, Professor Black Ops, please subscribe. That's what we got to do for the algorithm.
Subscribe, comment, like, engage. Have a good life.
Facts. Reach out if y'all need anything. ProfessorBlackOps@gmail.com. Everybody have a nice night. Hump day's over with. We rolling downhill. Hell, it's almost Thanksgiving, man. This year flew by.
Oh, yeah, I got gym in the morning.
I need to get there too, man. Thanks, Solo Dolo. I appreciate it. I'm out. Everybody have a great rest of the week. Let's get to the weekend.